Welcome to Justman TV News, your trusted source for the latest headlines and breaking updates. We bring you the stories that matter most every single day.
The news headline: IPOB react to Sheikh Jingiri's "Nigeria is a Muslim country" remarks, says statement should not be brushed aside. Good evening and welcome to Justman News, where we bring you the facts, the reactions, and the issues shaping Nigeria. Tonight, we are looking at a controversial religious and political statement attributed to the prominent Islamic cleric Sheikh Sani Yahaya Jingiri, and the strong reaction that has followed. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, says the remarks should not simply be dismissed as ordinary political rhetoric. According to the report, Jingiri spoke in a support of a continued Muslim political arrangement and was quoted as describing Nigeria as a Muslim country. IPOB has now connected those comments to warning. He says Nnamdi Kanu has repeatedly made about Nigeria's political and religious direction. But then, what exactly was Nnamdi Kanu, or did Nnamdi Kanu say? What did IPOB say? What does Nigerian constitution actually provide concerning religion and government? Let's break it down. But then, watch this video.
We have forgotten that there is a very simple way to find out who is lying and who is telling the truth. Even Solomon used it in the Bible by asking questions. That is how you know who is lying and who is telling the truth. And what are those questions that you ask of the zoo? If it wasn't your intention to Islamize everybody in the zoo, Nigeria, why is it that every sensitive security position is occupied by a Fulani person? Simple question. If you claim that you want to advance the country, you want to make things better, how come the head of every sensitive parastatal is a Fulani person?
So you are welcome back. As I said earlier, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down into 7 sections. But then I want you to connect what Nnamdi Kanu said in that video to what Jingiri said. What is the relationship between both comments, and where is Nigeria going? That is what you need to know. Now, the controversy centers on remarks attributed to Sheikh Sani Yahaya Jingiri, a prominent Islamic cleric and influential figure associated with the Izala movement. The report circulating in Nigerian media says Jingiri defended the idea of continuing Muslim political leadership and made comments portraying Nigeria as a Muslim country. Remember what Nnamdi Kanu said in that video you watch. Now, the remarks generated significant reaction online and among political and religious commentators. The Nigerian Tribune reported that IPOB believed the statement should not be brushed aside as meaningless rhetoric. That distinction is important. We are not saying that the statement represents the position of every Muslim in Nigeria. It does not. In fact, reaction to Jingiri's comments have included criticism from Nigerians who are themselves Muslims. The issue, therefore, is not about Muslim versus Christians. It is all about whether religious identity should determine political leadership and whether statements describing Nigeria as belonging to one religious group are compatible with the country constitutional framework. Now, I want you to watch the video of people's reaction to what Sheikh Jingiri said and connect it with what Nnamdi Kanu said and see what happened. Watch this video.
I pity whoever said it's an cleric, because see, no matter how much you say this to gain political advantage because governors are there, you will never be as rich. You will never have the level of access to state resources these people have. So in the end, the greatest pawn that they are using are the religious leaders to incite this and the people. And it is during election period that you see all of this.
I think what this Islamic cleric said, the statement he made, should be regarded as hate speech. I say this because the thrust of what he was saying was to pit a particular religion against another for political gain. And let's call what it is what it is. What he made, the statements he made, they're not factually correct. However, they would make sense to an audience that is not educated or a gullible audience, to put it better. I think it's quite sad to see that the governors who were present didn't immediately speak against that. You should never sacrifice the peace and security of the people in Nigeria on the altar of personal politics. And this is what this man's statement, this cleric's statement, potentially had the cause to do. And if it was either ways, I would say the same thing. I also believe that because he was speaking to the president's reason for choosing, which we know that's not the reason why, for choosing a Muslim ticket, in this stance was saying almost a supremacy of one religion over the other, and numbers are more over the other, and even using a derogatory term to describe the other. And that's why I said it was hate speech. And we cannot run a society, especially as polarized as Nigeria, without a zero tolerance to rhetoric like this, whether for political gain or not. This is the time where we ought to be building, where we should be speaking about unity, where we should be speaking about there's unity in diversity. We've talked about how divided we are as a nation, and how the division is going deeper. And so we should not, no politician, no credible leader should sit in a conversation where topics like this, we're praising the Kaduna State governor for trying to build the bridges between the North and the South, Christians and Muslims. We are praising efforts by these leaders. And then we have people who come up to speak like this. From Abago the other day, despite the criticisms that his statement had talked about that as well. And that's why this morning, I believe that not just the governors, but the president himself, who was mentioned as part of his reason, we are going to support him for this. And if you see what he was saying, or the other person came third, almost putting aside, and it's dangerous to make the political contest a Muslim versus Christian contest. Absolutely. It has to be a contest of ideas. There has to be a contest of who is the best fit as a leader for Nigerians. Let us not allow leaders or even the people be used as a tool for for religious or ethnic divisions because of the ambitions of one man. And I don't think he was speaking for any of the leaders, because they have clearly come out to say how they are working together to build a Nigeria that's united. And that's why I expect a speaking against this statement. I think he doesn't speak for us. Absolutely. I think that's well within order.
Section 2. What did IPOB say? Following the controversy, IPOB spokesman Emma Powerful reportedly said Jingiri's comments should be taken seriously. IPOB argued that the remarks give renewed attention to concerns that Nnamdi Kanu has raised about Nigeria's political structure and the place of religion and governance. In essence, IPOB's position is this: if an influential religious figure publicly describes Nigeria as a Muslim country and support a political arrangement based on religious identity, then Nigeria should not simply ignore those comments. The group says such statements deserve public discussion because Nigeria is a country made up of people of different religions, ethnic groups, and cultures. But there is an important journalistic distinction here. IPOB's claim that Jingiri's remarks vindicate Nnamdi Kanu is an interpretation by IPOB. It should not be presented as an independently established fact. That is why, as Dosman News will say, IPOB says Jingiri's remarks vindicate Nnamdi Kanu's warning. We will not say Jingiri has proved Nnamdi Kanu was right. Those are two very different statements. But then, in your own opinion, how do you put it? Was Nnamdi Kanu right? Or what he has seen? Or is it well established? But let's continue. Section 3. What does the Constitution say? Let's go to Constitution. Is it really right? Now let's look beyond the political argument and examine the new law. Section 10 of Nigerian 1999 Constitution states that the government of the federation or of a state shall not adopt any religion as state religion. Hell. Okay, now let's continue. The Constitution also protects freedom of thoughts, conscience, and religion. Section 38 provides for freedom to practice and manifest one's religion or belief. This means that Nigerian Muslims have constitutional protection for their faith. Christians have constitutional protection for their faith. And other Nigerians have constitutional protection for their religious belief or lack of religious belief. The constitutional question is therefore not whether Muslims are allowed to influence politics. They are. Christians are also allowed to participate in politics. The bigger question is whether the Nigerian state itself can officially belong to one religion. Section 10 says the government shall not adopt a religion as the state religion. This is why the reported description of Nigeria as a Muslim country has attracted so much attention. It raises a political constitutional debate that goes far beyond one individual or one political party. Now, let's go to section 4 of this discussion. The Muslim ticket. Another major part of the controversy is the question of the Muslim tickets. Nigeria has previously had political tickets where both presidential and vice presidential candidates belong to the same religion. Supporters argue that a candidate's religion should not automatically determine whether he or she is qualified for political office. They say Nigerians should judge politicians based on competence, integrity, policies, and performance. Critics, however, argue that religious balance has historically been an important political consideration in Nigeria because of the country's deep religious diversity, and that is where the controversy becomes particularly sensitive. So, for many Nigerians, the debate is not simply about whether two Muslims can legally occupy the highest political offices. It is about whether political leadership should deliberately use religious identity as a major tool for mobilizing voters. That debate is legitimate, but it should be conducted without demolishing either Muslims or Christians. Now, section 5 of this discussion, where does Nnamdi Kanu fit into this? Now, this brings us to Nnamdi Kanu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You see, for years, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and his supporters, they have raised concerns about Nigeria's political structure, regional inequality, security, and what they describe as threats to the interests of people in the Southeast. IPOB now argues that the recent remarks attributed to Sheikh Jigiri give additional relevance to some of those warnings. But again, viewers should distinguish between what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has argued and what has been independently established. A statement by a cleric does not, by itself, establish that there is an organized national plan to transform Nigeria into an Islamic state. This is an allegation that will require evidence. At the same time, dismissing the statement completely will also prevent Nigerians from having a legitimate conversation about religion and politics. The responsible approach is to what? Examine the exact words, their context, the speaker's political position, and the constitutional implications. That is the approach we are taking here at Justman News. Now we go to section 6. Not all Muslims support the important point must be made. Sheikh Jigiri does not speak for every Muslim in Nigeria. Yes, that one is true. He speaks for himself, not for every Muslim. Nigeria has millions of Muslims with different political opinions, different schools of thought, and different views about the relationship between religion and government. Public reaction to the controversy also demonstrates that some Muslims have criticized the tone and substance of the reported remarks. That matters because it prevents this story from becoming a simplistic Christian versus Muslim narrative. Nigeria's religious diversity is a reality, and any political discussion about religion must recognize that both Muslims and Christians are Nigerian citizens with equal constitutional rights. Now, the last section, which is section 7. What should Nigerians watch next? So what happened next? The first question is whether Sheikh Sani Yahaya Jingiri will provide further clarification or context regarding the remarks attributed to him. The second question is whether political leaders, religious organizations, and civil society group will respond. And perhaps most importantly, Nigerians will continue to debate what role religion should play in the country's political future. For IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu supporters, the controversy is being viewed as evidence that their concerns deserve greater attention. For others, the remarks represent the opinion of one influential cleric rather than evidence of a national political agenda. The fact should therefore remain at the center of the discussion. Now, this major takeaway from this development controversy, and this is the major takeaway from this developing controversy. Sheikh Sani Yahaya Jingiri has come under scrutiny over remarks reported as describing Nigeria as a Muslim country and supporting a Muslim political arrangement. IPOB has responded by saying the comment should not be brushed aside and by linking them to concerns. By linking them to concern, it says Nnamdi Kanu has raised. But viewers should remember, IPOB's interpretation is not the same thing as independently proven facts. Nigeria's constitution prohibits the federal or state government from adopting any religion as a state religion and guarantees freedom of religion. So the debate now is bigger than one political figure or one religious leader. It is a debate about Nigeria's identity, constitutional democracy, religious freedom, and the future direction of the country. So, what do you think? Should statements like this be taken as a serious political warning, or should they be treated simply as the opinion of an individual religious leader? Well, let us know. Let us know your thoughts respectfully in the comment section. So, if you have found this report informative, please do wait to subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn the notification bell, and stay with us for verified updates on Nigeria's political, legal, and social development. I am your host. This is Trustman News. Truth, facts, impact. Goodbye and stay informed.